It's the most wonderful time of the year. Baseball season begins tomorrow afternoon, and for the next 6 months, my emotions will be in the control of various Latino men. First things first though, who are you guys rooting for this season? Now y'all know I bleed orange and blue, and with the way the Mets have been all my life, it's been a lot of bleeding, but I digress. It's been years since my last baseball video, and I figured, you know what, with all the mega deals and the looming lockout in 2027, I figured I would grade some of the biggest deals in MLB since 2015. Stay tuned to see who gets graded what. What's up, scholars? Moira here, and welcome to Book of Showtime Chapter 93. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to leave a like and share with your friends, and if you have a topic you'd like for me to cover, be sure to leave it in the comment section down below, or anywhere you can reach me on social media or the Book of Showtime Discord. So in today's chapter, I have 8 MLB contracts that I will be going over. I'll be grading the deals on not just player success, but team success as well. This for account for regular season and playoff success, as well as where the team is and went with the player. A bit of criteria for the contracts before we get started: the contract has to have been signed before the 2015 season, it has to be worth at least $150 million, have at least 6 years of length, and at least 3 full seasons completed. If it was an extension, I'll only be counting the years of the extension in my grading. Sounds good? Let's begin with Bryce Harper on the Phillies. After rampant rumors and years of speculation about how much he would get, with some thinking he'd be the first $400 million man, Bryce Harper would depart the Washington Nationals and sign with the rival Philadelphia Phillies before the 2019 campaign to the tune of 13 years worth $330 million. While often labeled as overrated throughout his career, Harper has lived up to his contract despite what Dave Dombrowski has to say, registering 26 wins above replacement with a trio of Silver Slugger awards, 2 All-Star selections, and an MVP in 2021. Harper would help lead the Phillies back to the World Series, being named NLCS MVP in the process, although they would fall short to the Astros. As long as Harper has been healthy, he's been a consistently productive player with an OPS well above league average. After injuring his UCL and undergoing Tommy John surgery following the 2022 season, he would swap from the outfield to first base and now be known as one of the best first basemen in baseball, even being named a Gold Glove finalist in 2025. I'll be grading Harper's contract with the Phillies an A. Bryce Harper has been doing Bryce Harper things since donning the red and white. Every non-pandemic year since signing, the Phillies have finished over 500, making the playoffs every year from 2022 to 2025, with the expectations being that the Phillies will be in the hunt again in 2026. While his attitude and leadership were questioned during his Nationals tenure, he has been a huge leader for Philadelphia, committing everything he has to this ball club. You know, back when Harper signed this contract in 2019, $330 million was huge money. It was insane. And now with the market changes and how he's played, he's essentially underpaid for what he's done. Harper said after getting his deal, he wanted to get as much money as he could so that the next man on this list would get more. Let's shift over to the West Coast with Mike Trout for the Angels. Sort of a spoiler, but he's the lone player on today's video that has only played for one team. The Angels drafted and developed Mike Trout before unleashing him on MLB in 2012. He had a cup of tea in 2011, but 40 games isn't a lot to go on. Now, baseball fans don't need any exposition on Trout, but Book of Showtime does have a lot of non-baseball fans, so let me run down his resume real quick. Every year from 2012 to 2023, Trout has been named an All-Star. In that same stretch, he's finished top 5 in MVP voting 9 times, winning the award in 2014, 2016, and 2019. And he also suffers from the LeBron James syndrome, where he probably should have 3 or 4 more MVPs, but the voters don't like the same guy winning every year. Look, sports media is a joke, I know. Mike Trout, look, he's insane, and I know you scholars have heard me use the term wins above replacement with Bryce Harper. If you have 5 wins above replacement or 5 WAR in one season, that's elite. Michael Nelson Trout had 10.5 WAR in his first full season. I mean, this guy is from another planet, his stats are insane, and he was due a major payday, which the Angels would oblige him. Before the start of the 2019 campaign, the Angels would reward Mike Trout with a 12-year, $426 million contract extension, the largest at the time for North American sports. Trout had the resume of an Inner Circle Hall of Famer, which is why it's going to be shocking that I'm going to be grading this contract a B. Now, Trout has come back to earth in recent years, largely in part to injuries and trade rumors, plus the unbearing weight of playing for a franchise as grossly incompetent as the Angels has probably started to take effect. Now, remember in the open how I said team success would be a factor in these grades? The Angels are a horrible organization. In fact, the owner said recently that the fans don't care about winning, which I don't know what life is like in Anaheim, but it can't be bad to the point where people invest time and money into going to watch the Angels play and say, you know what, I don't care who wins, it's about the vibes, you know? Since 2019, the Angels have not made the playoffs and have not finished above 500. They've spent money in the wrong places, they've gutted their farm system for arbitrary trades, and they were involved in a massive scandal that caused the death of one of their young players in Tyler Skaggs. Now, none of this is Mike Trout's fault, he's a loyal guy, but there is a principle here. He has held up his end of the bargain. I mean, he won MVP the same year they gave him this mega deal. And you know what's funny? Back in 2022, he had 40 home runs and 80 RBIs. Do you know how bad a team has to be around you to have 80 RBIs and half of them are you? It was a shame when he signed this contract because we all knew as baseball fans that he would never play a meaningful game for the rest of his career. And some of that is on him even before the extension. You know, the Angels were bad, so he knew what he was getting into, but still, it's free Mike Trout. They gotta ship him somewhere. I think his career would be revived if he went to another team. You know what, since we're bashing the Angels, let's jump to a teammate and briefly talk about the nightmare that was Anthony Rendon's 7-year, $245 million contract. Rendon would land in Anaheim following a stellar 2019 season that saw him win a World Series with the Washington Nationals, more on them later. Now, what can I say about Rendon's Angel stint that hasn't already been said? Outside of the COVID-shortened season, Rendon's tenure in Anaheim has been marred by inconsistency, injuries, and controversy. In 2021, he started with a groin injury, then a knee injury, then a hamstring injury, then a hip injury, leading to only 58 games played. In 2022, his season was clipped in mid-June with a wrist injury, and even though Rendon was able to come back late in the season, it was after a 5-game suspension due to getting involved in a brawl while he was injured, playing only 47 games that season. Early in the 2023 season, he would grab a fan by their shirt and attempt to slap him in response to being heckled, which would lead to another suspension, and then later that year he went down with another injury, playing in only 43 games. 2024, again, injuries limited Rendon to only playing 57 games, and finally in 2025, the Angels restructured his contract and released him. This contract gets an F, obviously for a lot of the same team reasons as stated for Trout, but Rendon just didn't care about baseball. He got his big deal and completely checked out. That was it. You can't help injuries, but the character he showed to the media, he openly stated that baseball was never a priority. If this was another organization, I would feel bad, but it's the Angels. Rendon was supposed to be in the heart of the lineup, complimenting Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, but it was not meant to be. What a nightmare. Let's stick with former Nationals and look at our first pitcher today, Max Scherzer. Mad Max would land in the nation's capital to the tune of 7 years for $210 million before the 2015 season, and he was as elite as you can be from day one. Max was dominant his entire contract, starting over 200 games for the Nationals between the regular season and playoffs and pitching to a sub-3 ERA, winning the Cy Young in 2016 and 17, while finishing top 5 in Cy Young voting every year but 2020. Mad Max would toss a pair of no-hitters in 2015 and would lead the National League in strikeouts every year from 2016 to 2018, punching out 300 on the dot in the final year of that stretch. During the Nationals' 2019 postseason run, Max was tremendous, surrendering only 8 runs in 30 innings of work. Max Scherzer was also extremely durable, leading the league in innings pitched and games started twice. Pair that with his leadership qualities and professionalism, and you have yourself an ace of aces. I'm grading this contract an S. That's right, S. Scherzer was a top 5 pitcher in probably all of baseball for his entire tenure, and the Nationals enjoyed plenty of regular season success before eventually winning it all in 2019. And when the Nationals were out of contention in 2021 in Max's final year, they were able to package him with Trey Turner in a deal to the Dodgers to bring in a pretty good prospect haul. So this team, the Nationals, they got a lot of mileage out of this deal. You had a Hall of Famer give you his best years, you won a championship, and then you were able to trade his expiring deal to help with the future. That is every GM's dream contract. While we're in the National League East, let's jump to their rivals and talk about the New York Mets with Francisco Lindor. The Metropolitans would acquire Lindor following the 2020 season. It was the first major move of the Steve Cohen era, and on the eve of the 2021 season, Lindor and the Mets would agree on a 10-year, $341 million extension. While Lindor would have a pedestrian 2021 with injuries and off-the-field controversy, it was 2022 when the extension kicked in that saw Lindor step up and become the linchpin of the New York Mets. Lindor would drive in over 100 RBIs and finish top 10 in MVP voting while helping the Mets secure 100 wins. While the Mets would fail to make the playoffs in 2023, Lindor would once again finish top 10 in MVP voting while winning the Silver Slugger for the third time in his career. It's the 2024 season that Mets fans will remember, where Lindor would put the team on his back down the stretch, powering the Mets to a wild-card berth and finishing runner-up to Shohei Ohtani in MVP voting with a bad back. He would again be named a Silver Slugger as he helped lead the Mets on a deep playoff run where they would ultimately be vanquished by the mighty evils that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. In 2025, Lindor would finally be named an All-Star for the National League after being spurned quite a bit in prior seasons, and while the Mets would fail to make the postseason on the final day, Lindor would once again finish top 10 in MVP voting. I'm going to grade Lindor's contract with the Mets an A-. If you take Lindor off the Mets, I don't think they win as many games in 2022. They might not even make the playoffs, and I think if you don't have Lindor in 2024, they are dead in the water in June. Outside of his oblique injury in 2021, Lindor never misses any substantial time, playing 152 games or more each of the last 4 seasons, only missing a few games in 2024 due to the aforementioned back injuries. Even when his offense is slow, he's been an elite defender at shortstop, and I know he's had the dust-ups with Jeff McNeil, which, let's be honest, that happens a lot in every locker room, you just don't hear about it. His leadership on and off the field is exemplary. I graded this deal an A- because Lindor does start slow, and you have to wonder if Lindor played at an all-star clip the entire season instead of after the first few weeks, the Mets would have a lot more success, especially when you look at how last year ended, where the Mets were fighting to make it on the last day. I'm not going to pin the entire season on him, but it does make you think. Let's jump back to the West Coast and talk about Kris Bryant. 10 years ago, after the 2016 season, I thought Kris Bryant was on track to be one of the greatest utility players of all time. Now I'm wondering what the hell happened to him. The Colorado Rockies would shock the baseball world by inking the former MVP to a 7-year pact worth $182 million. This was shocking because the caliber of a player like Bryant going to a team that just jettisoned 2 of its franchise stars while showing no signs of competing was just confusing. Kris Bryant had an impressive resume before locking up with Colorado. A career Cub, he was the Rookie of the Year in 2015, the MVP in 2016, and tallied 4 All-Star selections and led Chicago to its first World Series in over 100 years in that fantastic, thrilling 2016 World Series against Cleveland, all while maintaining an .880 OPS in 7 seasons before finally hitting free agency in 2021. Since he's signed, well, he's been awful. I'm sorry, he's been awful. And again, some context for non-baseball fans watching this, Colorado is at a much higher altitude than every other MLB stadium, so the air is thinner, which in turn leads the ball to carry more. A lot of players, if you look up the stats of Rockies players past and present, you might see some really glaring home road splits. A pedestrian hitter could go to Colorado and put up pretty good numbers, so a guy who's on track to be a Hall of Famer going to Colorado should have great numbers, right? Wrong. In 4 seasons, he's only played 170 games, tallied 17 home runs and 61 RBIs. 17 home runs and 16 RBIs is what Kris Bryant used to do in 1/2 of a season, not 4 full ones. And it's really just been constant injuries, which is shocking for a player that was very durable for most of his career. Bryant has had broken bones, broken ribs, plantar fasciitis, and multiple back ailments that will see him start the 2026 season on the injured list. I have no choice but to grade this contract an F, and both sides are to blame. Kris Bryant would openly state that he wishes he gave more thought to the deal before signing, which is ironic considering he's been worth negative WAR in his Rockies tenure, so he's just as much to blame as the Rockies are for making such a big deal, fully aware they had nothing cooking for them in the next few years. Anthony Rendon got a lot of flack because he openly doesn't care about baseball and there's more spotlight on him because he played in a bigger market with bigger stars, but Kris Bryant's deal, while not worth the same, is still just as much of a nightmare. And I'm not going to question Kris Bryant's commitment to baseball or his character. I don't think I have any reason to. He's done a lot of charity work, but the best ability is availability. And I have to ponder a little, how much does he really want to play for Colorado? Because this just seems like a pure money move. Since we're doing this Wikipedia style, jumping from whoever's linked to the previous guy, let's cover a former teammate of Bryant's from that championship Cubs team, Jason Hayward. Jay Hayward signed with the Northside for 8 years worth $184 million following a very good walk year for St. Louis in 2015 and a pretty solid big league career to that point. Hayward would rack up 3 Gold Gloves while being named an All-Star in his rookie campaign, where he was the runner-up in the National League Rookie of the Year race, and even got a few MVP votes along the way. He never busted the slash line or put up true MVP numbers, but he was an above league average bat, hitting double-digit home runs in each of his first 6 seasons in the show, including a 2020 season in 2012, all while playing elite defense in right field. Chicago was banking big on Jason Hayward being a huge star, but it didn't really line up that way. I'm going to give this contract a C. Originally I was going to grade it lower, but when you really look at his numbers and metrics, he's not a bad player. He's always been a very dependable outfielder, winning back-to-back Gold Gloves with Chicago in 2016 and 17, while leading them to a championship. And I feel if you sign a player to big money and you get a ring, that validates the entire deal. And the Cubs won in 2016 primarily because they were the best defensive team, and Hayward had a lot to do with that. During Hayward's contract, the Cubs would win the Central 3 times during his tenure while playing a lot of 500 ball, and he's another player that is a pro on and off the field. Did this offense live up to the lofty expectations that comes with signing a mega deal like that? Not really, no. The only season in Chicago where he had a positive OPS plus was the pandemic-shortened 2020 season. The only season he had negative WAR in was his last season in 2020, where he was limited to only 48 games, so you can cut him a bit of slack there. While he was never exactly going to win you the game with his bat, Hayward wasn't going to lose you the game either because of his stellar glove work. Jumping back to Los Angeles, we're going to go with the National League team this time. We're going to talk about Mookie Betts and the Dodgers. LA would acquire Betts in a trade with Boston prior to the 2020 season, where they would lock up the professional bowler to a massive 12-year, $365 million extension, one of the biggest deals in baseball history at the time he inked it. Let's just get it out the way. I have to begrudgingly give this deal an A+. I want to give it an A, but I actually like Mookie Betts a lot. I just hate the team he plays for. I hate the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers way more than the Yankees, and I'm a Mets fan, so that's saying a lot. I wanted to nitpick and say, well, he has a lot of great players around him, so it's easy to be good, but no, I can't do that to Mookie. His raw numbers are just too damn impressive. Since his first full season in 2021, he's racked up 4 All-Star selections, won the Gold Glove in right field, nabbed a trio of Silver Slugger awards, all while receiving plenty of MVP votes, finishing as the runner-up in a 2023 campaign. A season, mind you, where he led all of MLB, not just the National League, but all of MLB in wins above replacement with an OPS near 1,000. He had a stellar year. Oh, and Los Angeles won 2 World Series since the extension officially began, and they're poised to win at least 3 of the next 6 World Series. So long as they keep the band together, they'll be winning. They're the evil empire in baseball, all right? I hate the Dodgers. They get something nice every offseason. Why can't the Mets get something really nice every offseason, okay? Mookie Betts also made the transition from outfield to infield to help clear up spots for other players, which is something we've seen from Bryce Harper. So Mookie is a team guy, and I would be too if I got all that cash and had tons of MVPs and Cy Youngs on my team. God, I hate the Dodgers. I wanted Kyle Tucker on the Mets. Before anyone says, why isn't this an S? Well, the contract is still ongoing. We've seen the entirety of Max Scherzer's pact with the Nationals and how great it was for both sides. Mookie still has a long way to go, so he can turn into a shell of himself for the rest of his contract, but so far it's worked out well for everyone involved, and with today's market climate, it might be one of the better value deals too. Alright scholars, thank you so much for watching this chapter. Let me know down below what you would grade these deals, and let me know what deals you would like to see me grade in a potential second video. Inshallah, I'll see you in the next chapter. Damn Dodgers, I hate the Dodgers!